All right, ladies and gents, before we start this video, I want to go ahead and I have some questions about Mark Lanegan, which he was a good singer and everything, but he was known before he started music, or maybe why he was in music. There was rumors that he was a dealer, right? He hooked everybody up. So this has been very interesting. Now this video has just been released, and they're questioning Mark Lanigan, who was in a band that Lane joined, I think. So that's interesting. Didn't they do that song "River of Deceit" or whatever? I think that was Mark's band. Anyways, let's check this video out. And the title of this is Mark Lanigan, the killer of Kurt Cobain. But they all knew each other. Lane Staley knew Mark. Andy from Honey Mudbone or whatever it was knew Mark. They all knew Mark.
Chris, Dave, our partners, and I all rode down to the service in Chris's Toyota. The toughest part was walking in, and on the pews was a picture of Kurt, the photo of when he was a boy, with the dates of his birth and passing on it. It's almost like you black out at that point. You can see your shoes, and that's about it. We walked over to our seats and sat down. Lanegan was sitting behind me, and he had his head down, and I started sobbing. I don't think I stopped until it was over. I was quiet, almost frozen, but I couldn't stop. I looked over across the aisle from me, and there was a man who was hunched down in the same position and crying. I realized it was Kurt's dad. The real sadness wasn't Kurt Cobain committing suicide, because he never did. The real sadness is that he was murdered. What really hurts is the mental image we're left with, especially after reading Mark Lanegan's autobiography and the autobiography of Nirvana and seeing him at Kurt's funeral. His body language says everything. I cried reading that, and I probably still will. It isn't the fake suicide story that's sad, it's the truth. The hardest part of all of this is Kurt wasn't able to protect his daughter here in the third dimension because his life was taken. Greedy people wanted his money more than his company, more than his friendship, and more than his humanity.
All right, so that's interesting. So Mark is saying that someone killed him for his money, but if a lot of people question Mark. I mean, like I said, he was in that one band that he left for a while or something, and Lane came in, and Lane did that song "River of Deceit" with that band. I forget the name of that band, but that was Mark's. I think Mark was in that band. But before that, there was rumors going around that he was into the white stuff, and if you needed some, that's who you seen, whatever. Now, my question is was he supplying all these guys with that? And if they started getting, let's say, TV recognition for they're known to be doing heroin, they're known, these guys they all know each other, and my question is do people out there think that Mark might have got paranoid and was like, get rid of everybody before I get busted? I don't know. When I think about that, it's possible if he was the main supplier to Lane. I mean, if you watch the Lane, yo, what's up, Eldez? If you watch the Lane Staley documentary, what do they talk about? They talk about Mark. As soon as Lane got out of rehab, he went straight to Mark's house and scored some stuff. Maybe it's possible. It seems like everybody even went there. Mike Starr, they all knew him. So was the heroin that maybe he was getting so pure it killed everybody? Or did someone get paranoid and these people had to go before they found out that, oh, Mark's the one that's been dealing it to everybody, or they've been getting it from Mark, and then Mark get busted and lose everything? I don't know. It's very interesting. Let's continue to listen. Those guys were all dirty junkies. Yeah, they were. I'm not going to hold it against them because that's rock and roll. That's the streets. Uh, you know, yeah. It's horrible because I've seen what heroin can do to somebody in real life, and it ain't good. It's not good at all. Or even cocaine, what it could really do. And it's ugly. All right, let's watch some more of this video. I posted it in my chat and in the description.
Psychological pressure can turn into forced restraint or overpowering. This often begins with intimidation, manipulation, or repeated demands meant to wear someone down mentally. When a person resists, the pressure can escalate quickly, from verbal control to physical dominance. In those moments, the individual may feel trapped, confused,
I think that's Mark in a couple of these photos. But another thing I want to point out is they all moved. Kurt Cobain, Lane Staley, Andy, Chris Cornell, they all lived around this guy. They literally bought houses, and they all were within each other's reach. And it's kind of crazy. Weird.
or overwhelmed, especially if they are outnumbered or isolated. Fear and shock can cause the body to freeze or shut down, making resistance difficult or impossible. What looks sudden from the outside is often the result of escalating coercion behind closed doors, where control replaces consent and power replaces choice. Example of psychological pressure escalating into violence. A person is isolated with a small group who keep.
All right, there's Mark, right? So Mark, well, I don't know. This could be plausible what this kid is saying. This guy that made this video. Is it plausible? Yeah, very plausible. It's very plausible because Mark really his band wasn't doing good. Not like Alice in Chains, not like Nirvana, Mother Love Bone, and all them. Uh, his band. So what do? Well, they turn towards selling drugs. So could he have been the supplier, and the guilt was coming down on him that all all your customers and friends are gone, except for him, I think. I don't know. Maybe, Yo, Kelt, how you doing? ATS News, hello. Miss ATS News, I think the next video I do, I'm going to do show that, what you sent me about Jonathan Gerlach, the body grave guy. Yeah. In Jesus' name, send all that back to him. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's continue with this. And, the more I look at this whole situation, it's very possible. They all moved around this guy, that Seattle area or whatever. So maybe it's possible.
Keep insisting they comply with certain demands. The pressure starts verbally, repeated arguments, guilt, threats, and being told that they have no other options. When the person refuses and tries to disengage, the group becomes aggressive. One person blocks the exit while another uses intimidation to assert control. The situation escalates quickly. The individual is overpowered, restrained, and silenced. Fear, shock, and confusion take over, and the person's ability to resist collapses. What began as psychological coercion turns into physical domination, not because of consent or choice, but because control is forcibly taken.
Little known fact about that one is that I was in the same rehab as Courtney Love. I know where she was when the murder occurred.
You know what else I find weird is these people all come right out and say murdered. No, they all believe he was murdered. Why though? For money and all this and that. I don't. It's possible. Like ATS News saying that Kurt was murdered. I am Kelt says still blame Courtney. Well, I don't know. Is Courtney that crazy? Are these people that crazy to do it, plan it, and be out forward with it? Oh yeah. You remember El Duce when they interviewed him? El Duce or whatever his name was. Oh yeah, she was gonna give me 50 grand to kill him. We were in a bar one night and she was yelling, he screwed me over and I'll give you 50 grand to kill him. Are they that stupid to talk like that right now? Like Courtney Love was not a big star. People probably would have looked at her and been like, are you a crazy bitch or what? No offense, Miss Courtney, if you ever see this. But she wasn't a big star. Kurt was. Yeah, El Duce. Yeah. The same guy that they were interviewing at his house. And I can hear in the background, I turned the volume on. And I commented on that video, hey, there's a broad screaming in the background for her life. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? I said, turn your volume up on that. There's a broad screaming in your video. And sure shit, there was a woman screaming. She was screaming for help. I guess that dude El Duce was in some kind of a bondage thing. Or Don or something like that. Some crazy shit. And there literally was a broad chained up or locked up in his house. That video was when they went to El Duce's house and he opened up the fence and let them in. And they were all like, you want to go inside? And he's like, oh, no, we'll just stand right here and do it. And he stood out by his front or backyard fence doing the interview. And they asked him about, did someone said Courtney asked you to kill Kurt? And he's like, oh, yeah. Oh yeah, we were in a bar and she was all and she's gonna give me 50 grand to kill him. Well, in that video, you can hear a young lady screaming for her life. Miss ATS News says she paid people to kill him. Maybe. I don't think she would be that brazen though and lose everything. I don't know what's wrong with these people. I mean, she would have got money either way, right? Because at that time, Kurt's daughter wasn't old enough to take care of herself. So who would have been legal guardian? Courtney. Who would have had control over Bean's uh, estate? Courtney. I mean, so would she? I don't know. I don't know. He wanted to leave her. Maybe so. You might be right. There was rumors of that. But they all, even Courtney knew who Mark was. Even, everybody knew who Mark was. So they might be onto something. And another thing is you know watching Lane. Lane's addiction was so bad. Where what kind of life did Lane have? Well, if his addiction was that bad, he had no life. His life was scoring drugs, cooking it all up, putting it in syringes so he can survive each day. I wonder how many shots Lane was doing a day. I mean, if you're doing nothing but heroin 3, 4 times a day, that's 5 times a day. Your whole world is wrapped up around preparing that heroin, so you could sit around and inject it without having to cook up more to inject. So he might have had tons of needles. His whole days might have been consistent of scoring dope and then sitting at home cooking it all up and then putting it in syringes, extracting it out of the spoon or a cup, whatever he cooked it in. And that would consist of his days every single day. I mean, not unless he bought a lot and did nothing for a month and did nothing but cook up heroin and put it in syringes. And then he'd have a supply of, he could just walk around and inject himself with it. I don't know. All right, let's continue to watch this. Kelt is saying, and he put his kit away from doing it. Kelt also said the being able to shoot himself with all those drugs with a freaking long ass shotgun. Yeah. Holy crap. You see that? That looks like some kind of a box or something that's filled with white powder. That's a lot of yayo. Wow. Either it's heroin or coke, maybe. I don't know. You see it? It's inside the blue. It's inside the blue thing. It's like a box. I don't know if it's got a glass lid on it or it might have a glass lid on it. I mean, this shit's right out of Tony Montana, Scarface. These people had box pools under glass. Oh my God. If that's cocaine or heroin, that's a lot. What is that? I'm sorry. I'm multitasking. I think that's either cocaine or heroin. Probably heroin. Maybe both. They might have had so much money and drugs, they mixed them both together. So they do their speedballs. Hell, Des says it's baking soda. I don't think so. I really don't think so.
I believe that Courtney Love and Michael DeWitt and possibly 2 or 3 other persons conspired and plotted and eventually succeeded in killing Kurt.
All right, that's the end of that video. That was just released. That video was just made and released. I did put the video in the description and chat. No, I don't know. I don't know. That looked like a lot of drugs to me. And would it make sense? It probably would if their addiction was that bad. Like people said, Lane locked himself in his apartment, his condo, and you never seen him. Years and years went by. Well, that's probably because that's all he did. I mean, I felt horrible for him because at the end, he's like, I don't even get high anymore. He did it just so he can function because he would get sick, wouldn't be able to do nothing, convulsions, everything shutting down, his body organs shutting down. He probably had to do it every, who knows, maybe every 2-3 hours he had to inject himself. And that's all day for years and years. Yeah, I can see how he didn't make it. Now this whole thing with Mark Lanegan, I don't know. It's possible. If he was a supplier, then yeah, it makes somewhat sense. Maybe he got paranoid and got rid of people. Maybe Courtney. The other guy, Mark, yeah, maybe. Maybe someone paid them to do it. And drugs or whatever, heroin. Don't know. All right, so that's that video. Another one down. Now, a lot of you in chat are saying that Kurt was murdered. That's what you guys believe. Well, I don't know. Is it possible for him to do something like that with that much heroin in his body? Yes. His tolerance was very high, so he could have injected himself with that before it kicked in. He could have placed himself there. Kurt had very long arms. If you look at his guitar, when he plays his guitar, it hangs on him past his waist. He had very long arms. So, yes, he could have before the heroin kicked in. But a lot of people bring up good points that a lot of people were being found out for having heroin addictions, and a lot of people wanted to know where they were getting it. So it could be both ways. It could be. Hold on a minute, folks. We'll have to wait and see. It wasn't high. He had quit. Who had quit? ATS News. Valdez wants to know where Debbie is. I don't know, maybe cutting the yard, putting the cows away, dishes or laundry, or chasing down one of her cats. I don't know. Okay? I don't know. I don't get paid to babysit, Valdez. She's around. That's all I can say. Being protected. I'd like to know what Miss ATS News is talking about. It wasn't high. He had quit. He quit what? He didn't quit heroin. He was another one. Kurt was another one that had a pretty high tolerance, and just like Lane. You know, the only one that came unscathed out of all that whole mess was Cantrell. You know, even Chris Cornell met his demise probably that way. You know, who knows? You know, it's pretty crazy. Mark was the last one to go out of all them guys. That's fishy. Are you saying Kurt quit? Is that what you're saying? He wasn't high, he quit? Maybe. Maybe. Someone killed him and made it look like it was an over. Yeah, sure. It's possible. Very possible. All right. Are there any more questions other than where is Debbie? She's an adult lady. She has a life, Valdez. Let her live it. Let her live her life. He overdosed, Valdez said, in Europe about a month earlier. Yeah. No, he was still on it. I do believe it was possible that he could have done that to himself and injected that much heroin. Yeah. If you remember, he wasn't but feet away from where he wrote the note. He could have already wrote the note when he was messed up, placed it there, and then injected right where he sat, grabbed the gun before it kicked in, and done it. Yeah. Yeah, very well possible. Heck, for all we know, he was holding the gun and it accidentally went off, right? Because he dozed off or whatever, might have had his hand on the trigger. Boom. Well, that's possible too. But my question is if he's that flipped out where he's scared and he's sitting up in his garage with his shotgun, then I would say something made him scared. Let's look at that real quick. You know what? You're saying the last part of that note ain't him. Well, let's look at that note right here. Now, this is the guy that lived with him or something. This is the guy they think that did it, had something to do with it with Courtney. This is the guy that used to live there, babysit Kurt's kid for him. But he was also all messed up on heroin. All right, now let's take a look at this letter.
Place's choice. Example of psychological pressure escalating into violence.
There's Mark.
A person
There's
is
Mark
isolated
again.
with a small group
There's
who
Mark.
keep insisting they comply with certain demands.
Oh, hold on a minute. Go back there. Is that the gun?
Insisting they comply with certain demands.
There is the gun that he used, supposedly, that Kurt used. Now, I don't know if that's the gun because if you notice the gun that guy is holding, it looks like there's a silencer at the end of it, a muzzle, a gas chamber muzzle, that which almost looks like a silencer. So I don't know if that's the original gun or not. All right, now let's take a look at these letters that Kurt's talking about.
The pressure starts verbally, repeated arguments, guilt, threats, and being told that they have no other options. When the person refuses and tries
Is that a dude? That looks like a dude. The dude looks like a lady.
to disengage, the group becomes aggressive. One person blocks the exit while another uses intimidation to assert control. The situation escalates quickly. The individual is overpowered, restrained, and silenced. Fear, shock, and confusion take over, and the person's ability to resist collapses. What began as psychological coercion turns into physical domination, not because of consent or choice, but because control is forcibly taken.
A little known fact about that one is that I was in the same rehab as Courtney Love. I know where she was when the murder occurred.
Control replaces.
All right, is this what you're talking about, Kelt? Kelt is saying at the bottom of the letter is not Kurt's handwriting. What's with the hand? Exactly. It was a very long gun. Did he pull it with his shoe covered foot? I don't know. It's possible. Who knows? I don't know. He had long arms. I know that. Because if you watch him play his guitar, the dang thing's almost hanging down to the ground. No, I never tried on my girlfriend's undies. I smelt them, sniffed them, but never put them on. I'm sorry. Nope. Now, Kelt, what are you saying about this letter? What are you saying about this letter? That it's not him? It's kind of weird how he writes real small in the beginning of it, right? You could barely read his handwriting. He writes like I do, like chicken scratch. But at the end, it's giant letters and it's wavy, right? It's like wavy. You know what I mean? Like it's like the words are going in a wave, up and down, up and down. Kel said snipping is worse than wearing them. No, don't be upset there, Kel. So, Kel, what are you trying to say here? What are you trying to say? That that's not his handwriting? ATS News said no way he shot himself. Well, you have the right to believe that. Is it possible? Yes. Yes, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's possible. Possibly by accident. Possibly. You know, when you get so bad you contemplate taking your own life and you sit there and contemplate life in your head. And he might have been doing that, all messed up on heroin and accidentally slipped or dozed off and hit the trigger or something. Yeah, yeah. Anything's possible. Sure. Now, like everyone's saying in my chat, he was murdered. Oh, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not, but I wouldn't know as much as experts. Kel says, I've watched documentaries saying it wasn't his writing. The part he wrote is to his imaginary friend. Bada was his imaginary friend. So maybe he did write it to his imaginary friend. My question is, do you think it's capable that Mark was supplying all these rock stars with heroin and maybe he panicked and got rid of all these people? Or the people he gets his heroin from, which probably could have been a big time dealer, which uh, might have been affiliated with people that do get rid of people. You know, I don't know. I don't know. All these people are innocent till proven guilty, and I don't know. You know, my experience with that stuff, yeah, it's possible if he was a heavyweight in the heroin business, moving a lot of heroin, whatever. Then yeah, it's possible he could have had people off. It's also possible he could have told these people that the heroin wasn't that pure when it was 100% pure heroin, and they injected what they thought they usually injected, but this was 100% pure and it killed them. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's sad though because if you do the numbers of them bands that all hung out around there and they all did, they're all gone. They're they're all gone. Cantrell was the only one I think that made it out of that band, and the drummer alive. Wow, that's something. God bless his little heart, right? Because he walked away from it. And you'd have to, which I know Cantrell knows when it's that bad, you just got to walk away, get your life straight, and get back to doing what you do best. And that's music. And, thank God he's still alive. Alice in Chains. Everyone survived, I believe, Nirvana, except for Kurt. I think everyone's gone in Alice in Chains except for Jerry and the drummer. Well, I could tell you what, now I know why they think they're lucky stars. Because it could have been them. All the history I've done and all the, I've been around drugs and stuff. And from what I've seen and everything, and all the documentaries I've watched, heroin, not many people walk away from a heroin addiction unless you got a lot of money to go to rehabs. And you got to stay away from everybody that doesn't, or you will relapse right away. So unless you got a lot of money to go to rehabs for a long time, you know who else did heroin? The great Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page. He came right out and told everybody, you don't beat heroin. Heroin beats you. And unless you handle it right away, the heroin wins. Yeah. He's telling the truth. Thank God he's still around. Well, a lot of people questioned these people, Kel. And a lot of people questioned him too. Didn't he go and do some record 666 or something, or had something to do with the devil in the record? And right after the record, his drummer died from an overdose. Oh yeah, you got to. If you're the only way to beat cocaine, heroin, alcohol is you got to get away from it. Don't buy it. Don't even think about it. And yeah, you're going to have some horrible, horrible days. But it gets better. As time goes by and the drug leaves your system, you get better. Each day you get better. And I'm not talking about cannabis. That's baby crap. I'm talking hard stuff. Crack, cocaine, heroin, pills. That's the shit that gets you, and that gets you hooked. Alcohol too. But the other stuff, the powder, is what really sucks the life out of you. At one point, I was looking at photos of Jimmy Page, and he looked like death warmed over. In 75, I think it was. He was so skinny, he looked like a pole. It was unreal. Me almost looked like Lane, right? Lane was, what, 6 foot, but real skinny and everything, you know? Yeah, that's, that shit'll kill you. You don't want to do nothing. You don't want to eat. You don't want to do nothing but drugs all day. And then you drink alcohol to try and take the edge off from the cocaine and then you're doing cocaine to stay awake from the heroin. It's just a concoction of evil. Yeah, I want to thank the good Lord I'm alive. 27 years, dude, and I still crave every now and then. Not me. My God, I love waking up without a hangover. I love waking up without having to pop a pill, snort something up your nose, or drink alcohol. It's the greatest thing. I feel great. All glory goes to God. I mean, I still feel bad, from other hazards in my life, but I feel a lot better than what I did. I'll tell you that much. The first 6 months is a pain in the butt, but then, like I said, over time, you get better, right? You get better. I remember the first time actually waking up early in the morning, you know, before the sun came up and watching the sun come up. I was like, I can't believe I'm up this early. you know, I can't believe I'm up this early. But things were good for me then. Yeah, well. All right. Is there anything else you want to say about this letter? Excuse me. I think it's kind of weird how the first half of it, the top, is like really tiny and small. And then at the end, it's like giant and it starts waving, like it waves like up and down, up and down. I find that pretty weird. Now, someone said they found a cheat sheet in his backpack or something like that, or in Courtney's backpack or something like that, of Kurt's handwriting or something, where they would like copy it or something. I don't know. Is that what we're looking at here, Kel? Is the cheat sheet that someone had in their backpack of Kurt's writing? Interesting. All right, folks. I think we'll be ending this. I think the next video we'll do tonight might be on Jonathan Larac, whatever his name is. There is a video that just was released of inside the storage unit, I think, and there's bodies and torsos and skulls. It was almost like he had the shelter set up like a place to go hang out and chill with a bunch of dead people or something. I have to see if it's authentic first, see if it's real. Now, you folks be safe. Don't know. It's okay that you don't know, Kel. I want all you to be safe. God bless. If you are struggling with addictions, one day at a time. one day at a time. Nothing as bad as doing something stupid to someone or yourself. There is life after drugs and alcohol. Uh, you will survive. It just might take a while, might take years, but you'll feel yourself getting better down the road. And it's worth it. And if you're that messed up on pills or the heroin or the cocaine and the alcohol and it, smoke some cannabis. That might help you take the edge off of stuff. It might help you eat. Now, you folks have a good night. God bless everybody. And we'll be back with more content.